When it comes to strength training for cycling, and especially for triathlon, the overhead movement is actually really important for us, especially as cyclists. Triathletes have the swimming, yes we know, and as cyclists we tend to be down here. Today we're going to look at the Landmine Press, which is an absolutely fabulous tool for you to use for the overhead press because it produces less pressure onto the shoulder joint, if you do it right. When it comes to the Landmine Press, the number one thing that I hear from athletes around the world that I work with is I don't have the Landmine apparatus. The great news is you don't need it. You can use a 10 or a 20 kilo plate, or you can also use a corner of the gym somewhere where you can just place the bar. Now, do not put the bar inside a rolling weight or a kettlebell because that will move, whereas when it's inside the middle of a 10 or 20 kilo plate, it will allow that bar to not move anywhere. So you don't need the Landmine apparatus, you just need a little bit of ingenuity. Now ideally, this should be up against a wall or something else that's more permanent, but for filming today, we put it in the middle. She's strong, we're not gonna add any weight today, so hopefully it doesn't move, but that is a consideration. So don't mimic exactly what we did here, but have it against a wall, against a rack. I usually like to put it against the rack in the back, in the corner, and then work out of the rack that way. But the Landmine Press, the general standard variation is going to start this way. You're going to walk up to the bar. You're going to be careful how you pick it up, but you're going to bring it up to your shoulder height. Now, when you bring it up to the shoulder height, we want to make sure it's also going into the middle of that plate. So let's start you off on your left hand because we know that's the one we're going to work on. Now, you'll notice the bar end is actually well in front of her shoulder, and we actually want to have her closer. So we're going to have her walk a little bit more. There we go. I prefer with cyclists that the end of the bar is just in front of the shoulder. This just means that as you get to the top, you're going to have to learn how to lock the rib cage and pelvis together to be able to move with a coordination of the midsection as opposed to just arching your back. Now from here, Jordana's going to come into a quarter squat, pushing her hips back towards me, a little bit more of a hingy squat, and she's going to push her knees out just a little bit to engage the glutes. Great. Now her rib cage and pelvis are stacked. From here, you want to make sure that she has a little bit of a window between her elbow and her torso. She's not going to be tucked in. Creating a window with the wrist neutral. From here, the barbell is going to come up at an angle until it finishes about even with her left eye. So she's going to come up and in just a little bit. What we're looking for is good scapular thoracic rhythm, fancy terminology. Go ahead and come back down. Let's go through 5 reps. Fancy terminology for her shoulder blade should be moving on her rib cage. And you'll notice, like most of you, in the riding position this time of year, June, July, her shoulder blade is winging. It's coming off of the rib cage just a little bit. The way for her to fix that is to think about getting the movement from the mid-back, the mid and lower trapezius muscles, and letting the elbow kind of come out just a little bit more, and then pushing from the mid-back. So she's coming up again, it's coming even with her eye, and back down. So it's a little bit of a slant. Now she's creating tension with the opposite side, squeezing the hand at 45 degrees and keeping tension through her glutes and midsection. Let's switch sides. When you switch sides, exactly as she did there, it's going to be at chest height. Never ever switch the bar overhead. It's just a risk that we don't want to take. Now from there, she's going to set up, make sure everything's nice and set. Now from here, you can see that this side is actually a lot cleaner than the other side. So she's actually able to get good movement. The shoulder blade isn't winging as much. This is her dominant hand. This is not uncommon to see. All we would do to help with this is slow down the weight progression or the increase in repetitions. We would be guided by her left hand. So we would start with her left hand first, as opposed to going with her strong hand and letting that drive us forward. So what will happen, you'll see now she's losing that midsection, so she has to drive that knee out just a little bit, keep the glutes engaged. The glutes connect to the external obliques, which connect to the serratus anterior muscle, and it helps us keep everything nice and stable together. That's it, go ahead and take a break. So this is the standard Landmine variation. Now you'll notice when she took the barbell down, let's actually use that as a teaching point, she didn't do this. That is a very big risk of injury. She brought it to her chest, down, 2 hands, and then squatted down. Exactly how you're supposed to put it down, and an excellent demonstration of how everything matters in the weight room. Too many injuries happen when people are re-racking a weight or finishing a set because your mind checks out and you're thinking about your phone, how well you did. Pay attention to how you're moving. Now, if you found today's video to be useful in helping you learn how to do the landmine press, especially keeping that window between the elbow and the body, and why and how the bar needs to move to get good glenohumeral rhythm, that's just a fancy term for the upper arm bone in the shoulder socket, make sure you're hitting subscribe down below and leave me a comment. Have you been doing the landmine press wrong? Or is this something completely new to you and you're excited to try it? Until next time, remember, train smarter, not harder, because it is all about you.